In the early hours of November 13, 2022, four University of Idaho students were fatally stabbed in their off-campus residence in Moscow, Idaho. On December 30, 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger was arrested in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, on 4 counts of murder in the first degree and felony burglary. Background: the several University of Idaho students lived in a rented off-campus home in the rural college town of Moscow, Idaho. The 3-story home had 6 bedrooms, 2 on each floor. There had not been a murder in the city since 2015. What happened? In the early morning hours of November 13, 2022, 4 University of Idaho college students were stabbed to death in a shared rental home close to campus, in which 3 of them resided. The 3 female victims were Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, and Xana Kernodle, who lived at the house, while the 4th victim, Ethan Chapin, was Kernodle's boyfriend who was sleeping over on the night of the attacks. 2 other female roommates also lived at the house. They were not attacked. Earlier on the evening of November 12, 2 of the 4 victims, Chapin and Kernodle, were at an on-campus party at the nearby Sigma Chi fraternity from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. They returned home at 1:45 a.m. That evening, the other 2 victims, best friends Mogen and Goncalves, had gone to the Corner Club, a downtown sports bar at 10 p.m., from which they departed at 1:30 a.m. A live-streamed video on Twitch by the Grub Truck, a food truck 4 blocks south at Friendship Square, Main and 4th Streets, showed Mogen and Goncalves at 1:41 a.m., chatting and smiling, getting their food 10 minutes later, and leaving to take what the police initially said was an Uber ride home, a trip of about 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers. The police later rephrased their statement to say the ride was provided by a private party, arriving home at 1:56 a.m. All 4 students were home by 1:56 a.m. 7 uncompleted phone calls were made from the phone of Goncalves to her former longtime boyfriend, a fellow student, from 2:26 to 2:52 a.m. Mogen also called the boyfriend 3 times with similar results from 2:44 to 2:52 a.m. These calls were investigated with the police concluding they did not believe he was involved in the crime. Kernodle received a DoorDash order around 4 a.m. The 2 surviving roommates had returned home by 1 a.m., and original reports said they were in their beds on the ground floor of the home at the time of the killings. They were not attacked or held hostage, and original reports stated that both surviving roommates did not awaken during the killings. However, the affidavit for the case said that one surviving roommate was sleeping on the 2nd floor, the same floor as Kernodle and Chapin, before she was awoken by what sounded like Goncalves and her dog. She later heard a roommate saying something to the effect of, "There's someone here." The roommate believed this was said by Goncalves, although investigators also believe this might have been Kernodle speaking, as a forensic download of her cell phone showed that she was on the app TikTok at 4:12 a.m. The surviving roommate opened her door twice within a short span of time. And the second time, heard what sounded like crying coming from Kernodle's room and a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Security cameras near the home picked up the sound of whimpering, a loud thud, and a dog barking numerous times starting around 4:17 a.m. The surviving roommate opened her door a 3rd time, and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. The man, whom the roommate did not recognize, walked past her and used the sliding glass door to exit. It is unknown if the man saw her. The roommate stood in a frozen shock phase and then locked herself in her room. The 4 victims were stabbed to death on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the home, where they had been in bed. The victims were not gagged or restrained and the walls at the scene were splattered with blood. Mogen and Goncalves were found in Mogen's bedroom, and Kernodle and Chapin were found in Kernodle's room. No calls to 911 were made until 11:58 a.m., many hours after the early morning killings. At that time a call was made from inside the residence, from the cell phone of one of the surviving students who lived at the residence, asking for aid for an unconscious person. When police arrived, the door to the home was open, there was no sign of forced entry or damage inside the home, and nothing appeared to be missing. The two surviving roommates were in the residence when the police arrived, as were other friends of the victims. The surviving roommates had called friends over to the home because they believed one of the second-floor victims was unconscious and was not waking up. The identity of the 911 caller was not released, and the person was not considered a suspect. All four victims were pronounced deceased at 12 noon. Detectives believe the killings occurred sometime between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. That night, officer came upon Goncalves's dog, which she shared with her ex-boyfriend, alive and unharmed at the house. Who were the victims of this disgusting tragedy? 4 University of Idaho students were killed: Ethan Chapin, 20, of Conway, Washington; Kaylee Goncalves, 21, of Rathdrum, Idaho; Xana Kernodle, 20, of Avondale, Arizona. She later lived in Post Falls, Idaho; and Madison Mogan, 21, of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Chapin was a freshman, Kernodle was a junior, and Goncalves and Mogan were both seniors. Response to the attack. On the evening of November 13, the university canceled classes for November 14. It also scheduled a candlelight vigil to be held on the UI Administration Building lawn on the evening of November 16, then postponed it for 2 weeks. From the day of the killings, investigators initially said that there was no risk to the community. 3 days later, however, Moscow Police Chief James Fry said, "We cannot say that there is no threat to the community." Fall break was scheduled to begin after November 18, with classes resuming on November 28. Many students and other Moscow residents, not trusting the initial assurances of the police and fearing for their own safety, began an early Thanksgiving holiday exodus from the area. Other residents who stayed were anxious and cautious, and a number of professors canceled their classes. Because of weather concerns, the candlelight vigil was moved indoors to the Kibbe Dome and held on the evening of November 30. The fathers of Goncalves and Chapin criticized the limited flow of information from the police and university to the families of the victims. TikTokers, self-proclaimed psychics, and social media users began to speculate and spread rumors and misinformation about the case on social media. In response, the Moscow Police Department criticized internet sleuths for creating rampant online rumors and disrupting investigations, and in a December 2 news release said, "There is speculation, without factual backing, stoking community fears and spreading false facts." Moscow Police Captain Roger Lanier said, "Tracking down rumors and quelling rumors about specific information and specific events that may not have happened is a huge distraction. We are not releasing specific details as we do not want to compromise the investigation." They also warned that people harassing or threatening those potentially involved with the case could face criminal charges. Who was the attacker? A 28-year-old man, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, was taken into custody by an FBI SWAT team and Pennsylvania State Police on December 30 at the home of his parents in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. Kohberger was born on November 21, 1994, in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Kohberger's parents were originally natives of Brooklyn, New York. Shortly after finishing Pleasant Valley High School in 2013, he attended Monroe Career and Technical Institute in Bartonsville but dropped out a year later. Kohberger later attended Northampton Community College in Bethlehem, where he earned an associate degree in psychology in 2018. After graduating from Northampton, he worked as a security guard for the Pleasant Valley School District, the same school district where his father previously worked as a maintenance worker for many years and his mother for a time as a substitute teacher. He received a BA in 2020 and an MA in 2022 in criminal justice from DeSales University, in Center Valley, Pennsylvania. Kohberger later moved to Washington State to pursue a PhD at Washington State University in Pullman. The Pullman campus is about 10 miles (16 kilometers) away from Moscow. At the time of the killings, he was a doctoral student in criminology and had completed his first semester there 9 days before his arrest. Kohberger had been a teaching assistant at Washington State University, and less than 2 weeks before the murders, faculty members met with Kohberger to discuss growing concerns about his behavior and conduct. Kohberger was terminated from his teaching assistant role on December 19, with the decision being based on his unsatisfactory performance as a teaching assistant, including his failure to meet the norms of professional behavior in his interactions with the faculty. Arrest. Kohberger was arrested on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 felony count of burglary, was appointed a public defender and was detained without bond at the Monroe County Correctional Facility in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. On his return to the Monroe County Courthouse on January 3, 2023, he agreed to extradition. On January 4 he was flown to Idaho and taken to the Lotta County Jail, where he was held without bail. Kohberger made his first appearance in the Lotta County Courthouse on January 5, 2023, and was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary, for breaking into a home with the intent to commit a felony. 1 week later, on January 12, 2023, Kohberger made his second appearance for a status conference in the same room at the Lotta County Courthouse. A preliminary probable cause hearing was scheduled for June 26, 2023, at the Lotta County Courthouse. Aftermath. On February 24, 2023, University of Idaho President C. Scott Green announced that the house where the killings occurred was donated to the university. The house will be demolished. Scholarships in the name of 3 of the victims, Kernodle, Chapin, and Mogan, have been created. A memorial garden for the victims on the University of Idaho campus is being planned.